Hi, I'm Matthew Street.
And I'm Steve Schnee, and welcome to QUARANTUNES. This is a show where we feature album recommendations for you to listen to during quarantine. In every episode, we each present 5 different titles and explain why we chose it for your listening pleasure. Every album is meant to offer some kind of comfort during these difficult days. In fact, we hope that they become personal favorites and you enjoy them long after this pandemic is over. We both encourage you to buy physical product, support the artist, support the labels, and support your favorite e-tailers and retailers when you can. Are you ready, Matt?
I'm ready, Steve.
Because here we go. You know what? I'm going to say let Matt start this episode out, and I'm sure he's got some great titles, and I've got a stack of Burnin' Love sitting next to me. So, and that's not a hint, by the way. I should have put it on this thing. But go ahead.
Uh-oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, my first one today is a little bit off the beaten path, Steve. What I've done is I've taken an album that for me is one of the most relaxing and fun records to listen to when you need to mellow out and chill out a little bit. And that's this one right here. I'm hoping you can see it. I'm going to do my best to show it. This, believe it or not, is the soundtrack to the IMAX film Everest. It came out in 1998. And basically, they've taken the music of George Harrison and they've reimagined it. They've taken songs like All Things Must Pass, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, Here Comes the Sun, Life Itself, and the song Is It Love, I believe it's called. This Is Love, I'm sorry. And it's a very soothing, relaxing version of George's songs. It was part of the soundtrack, as I said. It's when you need to get centered, when you need to find yourself, and really chill out and just close the eyes and kick back and forget about the problems in the world, forget about the worries or troubles in your life, and just enjoy some good soothing music. This is it. Take a step back with this, breathe, decompress. It's the Everest IMAX soundtrack featuring the music of George Harrison, and I can't recommend it enough to everybody out there, Steve. It's great.
My first choice is not exactly the soundtrack to Everest, but it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest rock albums of our generation. But it's not a rock out with your ding-a-ling out. It is actually The Clash, London Calling.
Oh,
this is,
nice.
You know, you think to yourself, a punk band, why would a punk band bring calm and peace? Well, if you've heard anything by The Clash, you'll know that this is far from punk. The only thing it is punk in attitude and spirit. Not only do they tackle just straight ahead rock songs, there's also lovers rock, reggae, there's country, there's blues. They basically, even though the album's called London Calling, this is almost an album of them exploring the sounds that influenced them from America. And it is just originally a 2-record album. You know, you can get it as a single disc. This is actually the version that comes in the box set. So the inner sleeves are, you know, replicas and stuff. But you can get a version of this. Usually the ones in stores that are sold separately are just single discs. And it is a flawless album. This came out at the end of 1979 and in the UK. I believe it came out in January of 1980 here in the US. So the album's 40 years old and it is still fresh. The music and their dedication to creating this wonderful sound, this wonderful album is really what makes it stand out for me, because there's so much joy in the discovery of moving away from their punk roots and embracing becoming one of the greatest bands in the world. And definitely this album, bar none, is in the top 10, top 20 greatest albums of the rock generation, or at least of our generation. And you should definitely check that out. And of course, the cover is an homage to the Elvis Presley cover.
Right. Yeah.
And that's it. London Calling is my first choice of this video.
Love it. Love it. You're speaking to me here. You're speaking to me. I love that album. Okay. For my second pick, Steve, I have something that's a little bit obscure. You may have heard of it. Other power pop mavens out there may have heard of this artist, but it's Michael Carpenter. And the album is called Hopefulness. Now, Michael Carpenter is from Australia. He's an Australian power pop genius, in my opinion. He's been around at least since the well, his popularity was big in the 90s, but I'm sure he's been around since back into the 80s at some point. This Hopefulness album came out in 2000, so it's 20 years old now. But I'll tell you, it's a great, great album. This is kind of a concept album of sorts. It's kind of tied to his marriage at the time. He had just gotten married. And so it's kind of a concept about love and about marriage and about finding that special someone in your life, your soulmate, so to speak. And he basically just celebrates that throughout the whole album. But he does it in such a positive and poppy way, power pop way, that you just can't resist it. It's so tasty, so yummy, this album. It may sound goofy, but the emotion really rings true on this album. It's uplifting, it's power pop, it's jangle, but it's uplifting. It makes you feel good. It makes you happy to hear what he's singing about, you know, the hopefulness of finding love, that one true love. And I think we can all relate to that on some level. But it's like, it's power pop, but it's power pop with an intimate purpose. And that purpose is to spread the joy of love, which I think is just a great message, and especially in this world. It's just so warm and it's inviting. It's kind of a mellower power pop, but that doesn't mean there's any less guitars or jangle on it. It still rings true. And what's a really nice touch to this album, what I really love about it, is he finishes off with a cover of the Sam Cooke classic, What a Wonderful World, A Wonderful World, which is very appropriate, especially in this time, you know, that we, you know, having that joy in a wonderful world, and hopefully we'll get back to that wonderful world very soon. But folks, I can't recommend this album. Michael Carpenter, I have many of his CDs and albums, but I chose this one because this one is so heartfelt. It's so uplifting and positive. Check it out. Michael Carpenter, Hopefulness, Steve. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well,
But
first
that's
off,
it.
I know Michael Carpenter. He's a
Oh,
great, yeah, he's a great guy.
awesome.
And he doesn't record a lot now, but he's very active as a producer. So if there's any Australian people watching this and you want your album produced, he's a wonderful producer.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, great musician. Just yeah, and he just puts out great records. My next one, if you've been lucky enough to catch his afternoon concerts either on Facebook or on YouTube, Neil Sedaka. Everybody knows who Neil Sedaka is. He's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yet he is one that people should be praising. And this is a great collection because it goes all the way back to the 50s and stuff. But, you know, it takes you up through things like Laughter in the Rain and Love Will Keep Us Together, which he wrote, but Captain Tennille had the hit with. You know, Bad Blood's on that. Hungry Years is just fantastic. And but this is just a fantastic collection. It's called the Definitive Collection. But I'd say any career spanning collection by Neil Sedaka is going to be great. And I have to admit, his most influential, I believe, is his 50s recordings. But I believe the stuff he started recording like the late 60s up through the late 70s is his best period. There's some other records that he put out, maybe in the early 80s that I've never really heard. But anything that I can get a hold of on CD, I snap it up because I even have his last few albums that were released a few years ago through CD Baby. That's the only place you can get them. Neil Sedaka, one of America's greatest songwriters, could only sell his CDs through CD Baby. But, you know, I say check anything out you can. Still a great songwriter, still a great performer. Neil Sedaka, the Definitive Collection, should be the one that you should get right now. It's going to offer those wonderful feelings of nostalgia that will hopefully take your mind off the gloominess. What do you have next?
Okay, my number 3 is, well, I did a video by this gentleman last year sometime about this gentleman, and I called him a genius. I said, is he a genius? And I think he might be, because I have a CD here called White Lace and Promises, the Songs of Paul Williams, which was put together and produced by Andrew Curry from Curry Cuts Records. And how did I find out about this album? Well, see this guy right over here? Am I pointing the right way?
Yeah.
Steven did a video about Curry Cuts, and he talked about all the different albums that Andrew Curry was involved in. And I was so intrigued by the video and interested in what Steven was saying that I bought them all. I admit it. I ordered every last one of them, and I could have shown any of the different albums that Andrew Curry produced. But I chose this one because this one happens to be the one that's in my rotation the most. I play it quite a bit. I love it. If you need a lift, nothing better than the music of Paul Williams. I mean, his songs are there for you, and they always will be. They've been there since I was a child, and they're here now. And I tell you, you know, the message with his music is like, nobody's perfect. Just do the best you can. Life's not going to be perfect. Just get to living your life and doing your best. And that's what matters. Live your life. I think of Rainbow Connection from the Muppet movie that Kermit the Frog sang. And, you know, you may say, oh, hey, that's a little bit silly and all that, you know, but if you really dig into the meaning of the words, the lyrics to these songs, you know, we're all in this crap together, you know, especially with this virus stuff going on and the quarantine and all this baloney. This is what we need. We need to know that we're together, we can stick together. And the music of Paul Williams on this compilation album put together by Mr. Curry is fabulous for that. The entire album is joyful, it's uplifting, it's the interpretations are like perfect. They're not exact replicas of the originals, but we don't want that. The individual artists on here have reimagined them in such a way that they just draw you right in. You want to listen over and over again. The one I think of comes right to my mind is Chris Price does a version of a Carpenters song on here. I Won't Last a Day Without You. And my heart melts every time I hear his version. I mean, I love everything on this album. I mean, I don't know how good you'll be able to see that. Everything is fantastic, but that one version in particular by Chris Price just knocks me out every time. And let me tell you a quick story about this album and how it does have an impact on people. I was at a family and friends gathering a couple of months ago before all this coronavirus stuff. And I had a compilation or a playlist of music I was playing in the background at this gathering of tons of people. And I can't tell you, when the songs from this album came on, people would come up to me and say, who is that? What song is that? That song sounds familiar, but I love that version of it. And it kept going back to these Curry Cuts albums. It was always songs from his compilations. And it just spoke volumes to me how this music, the music of Paul Williams, interpreted by all these different artists, it just hits home and connects with so many people. And I had to pick it, folks. If you can get any of the Andrew Curry compilations, get them now. They'll make you smile and happy, believe me.
You mentioned Chris Price. I've actually recently been communicating with Chris Price. He has a brand new album with a band called Bebopalula.
Okay.
And it is absolutely fantastic. And I've been listening to his a couple of his other albums, and you know, it's like I've been hearing, you know, Chris Price on the comps, and my buddies have been playing Chris Price on the radio. But boy, when you sit down and you put the headphones on and you go, wow, this guy's something else. Now, my third title is an album that I believe that Matt is very familiar with. And I talk about this person a lot in my videos, only because I'm such a massive fan of him as not only a singer and songwriter, and but also as a person. But I also realized that I should talk about him on this video, because the people who watch Quarantunes, look, they don't watch it for me. They watch it for this guy over here. So they probably don't see my videos. So I wanted to talk about this, and I know Matt's a big fan of it. The brand new album from Lannie Flowers, Home.
Oh.
Okay, now Lannie is on Spider Pop Records, and he's well known in the power pop community. You know, he's in a band called the Penguins along with Danny Wilkerson, and Matt talked about Danny in a previous video. Now, this album, like, Lannie has just for years been putting out great power pop songs. This is a most excellent album, fantastic album. It's wonderful, nice gatefold packaging, by the way. Dan Zimmer does a great job for them. But this is not a power pop record. It is a fantastic melodic album that it's not, it's bold, but it's human, it's warm. On this record, Lannie sort of takes a glance inward. The songs are more about life as opposed to just, you know, hey girl with the bubblegum kisses and, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's actually something, there's a lot of depth to it. And actually, since we're in quarantine, Home is a perfect title. It's an album that that actually makes you think. It's not, he's not all pretentious, but it's just real. It's honest. It's warm. It's just gloriously melodic. And I think that a lot of the songs are really relatable with people. It's not a sad record, but it's it's a record where he's looking back and looking at his life and but again, he's not saying, "Oh, you poor Lannie," or "Lannie, go, Lannie, go." It's written in a way that we can all sit down and listen to it and say, "Wow, he's telling our life." He's talking about me. Oh yeah, I've done that. And it's just one of those albums that's both melodic and just glorious. And you could just blast it when you're driving down the street, but you can also sit in the corner in the dark with the headphones and connect to it just as much. So Lannie Flowers' Home is something that really, I believe, will touch you emotionally. Remember, I mean, Lannie definitely keeps the 6 feet social distance, but it'll touch you emotionally because it's just a great record. So go ahead. What is your fourth pick?
All right, I'm going to go back in time a little bit for this one. Now we're kind of jumping on. That's the beauty about QUARANTUNES is we kind of jump all over the place, and you go from Neil Sedaka to songs of Paul Williams and all kinds of crazy stuff. And now we're coming to the Ramones. I love the Ramones. I've been a fan of theirs since way back. Oh yeah, I see it back there. There it is down there.
Yeah.
I had to get Ramones somewhere in a QUARANTUNES episode, folks, because this was their fourth LP, came out in 1978. Their first three were very punkish, very hard and fast, whatever you want to call it. But when this one came out, and I love all those albums too, but this one, their fourth album, it's probably their most commercially sounding album up to this point. Mm-hmm. It's got the punk elements to it, but it also has some pop elements to it. Dare I say it? It could be considered heavy power pop, perhaps.
Absolutely.
In some areas, But I love it. It's great, folks. You got to check something like this out. There's several songs on this album from the movie Rock and Roll High School. And again, folks, a movie. If you want to see a real cult classic, go see the movie Rock and Roll High School, starring the Ramones. You don't want to miss it. And a few of the songs from this album are in that movie. It's absolutely fabulous. This album is full of life. It rocks. You just want to get up and dance and boogie when you listen to an album like this. It's just unbelievable. It's just fun is the word with the Ramones and Road to Ruin. It's just an album that is fun all the way through. You start twitching and shaking when you put this on, and you want to dance and move around. And you know what? You want to get pulled out of the doldrums of the times we're living in right now, this will do it for you, folks. This will pull you right out. You're not going to be able to sit still if you put this album on. And I could have chosen any album by the Ramones because I have everything by them. I saw them live many a time. Love the band. They're one of my favorites. But this one is the most accessible, I think, to many of you out there. And I say, give it a chance. And you'll see what a great, fun band they are. The Ramones, Road to Ruin. That's my next pick.
Anyway, let's go on to my fourth. And again, right. I talked about this in a recent episode of That's Pop Power. But as I've stated before, that not everybody who watches this show watches my other shows. So I wanted to bring it up because it is Utopia, Deface the Music.
Oh, nice.
This is a fantastic album. Of course, this is Todd Rundgren's Utopia. And this is an album where they went and they basically paid homage to the Beatles on this. This is pretty much their musical tribute to the Fab Four. All the songs are self-penned, or they've written by various members of Utopia, but they sound like classic Beatles. This is pretty much like the Ruddles. This is just them writing great pop tunes and producing them to sound like vintage Beatle tracks. But yeah, if you love Beatlesque, melody-driven, great hooks, Todd Rundgren, Kazim Sultan, just a great band. And it seemed like all their albums were different. And this was a really radical. In fact, when I interviewed Todd Rundgren 2-3 years ago, I told him this was my gateway album. And he was kind of surprised. He was like, that's kind of a weird album to get into Utopia with. To me, it's like any album's a great gateway album for Utopia, and this is definitely one that you should check out if you love the Beatles, if you love the Ruddles. Utopia, to face the music, you should get it now because it's glorious and it brings joy. It's a joyful, wonderful, upbeat batch of songs. They're obviously having fun, writing great pop tunes, and so it's uplifting in times like this. So that's why I chose that one.
Okay, for my number 5 pick, we're really going to go kind of in a different direction from my last pick for this episode. And you talked about it earlier with some about compilations and how they can be, when you get with the Neil Sedaka one, how they can be so, you can get so enamored with things like that with those compilation albums. Well, I picked this one. It's called Magic, the best of Olivia Newton-John.
ONJ.
Okay, maybe I'll try to take the thing out here for you and be a little bit better. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. I had to pick something by Olivia Newton-John, and I'm not going to be one of those people that uses the term guilty pleasure. I'm not using that term. I only said it just to say it. I don't believe in that term. I don't believe something is a guilty pleasure. If you like music, some type of music, it makes you happy, it makes you smile, makes you feel good, why not? I don't care if it's the Chipmunks, the Beatles, the Ramones, or Olivia Newton-John. If you're happy, you're happy. That's my attitude.
Exactly.
Something like this, you get 21 fabulous tracks, folks. If you don't want to spend all your money buying tons of Olivia Newton-John albums, that's fine. But get something like this. There's many compilations by Olivia out there, but the one that's the best bang for your buck, in my opinion, is this one, Magic. 21 great cuts, all the hits, career-spanning retrospective from Olivia, from her earliest country period, if you want to call it that, to her dance pop and her smash hits like Physical and all that stuff from the early 80s. They're all here, folks. You won't go wrong. It's just a great, great album. She has a wonderful voice. She's a wonderful person. Her music always lifts me out of the gloom when I'm feeling down. It takes me back to my youth, to my younger years. Going to see the movie Grease when I was a kid and, or a teenager, I should say. And to this day, when I see that movie, I go right back to those high school years. And you remember songs like Have You Never Been Mellow? Just, there's nothing wrong with getting mellow, Olivia. No, yes, we should get mellow. Seriously, folks, great music. Try a little Olivia Newton-John, and you won't be sorry. And this is a great one to start with. Magic, the best of Olivia Newton-John. My last and final pick for this episode, Steve.
Well, here's my 5th and final pick for this episode. Everybody knows his brother, but this is probably my 2nd favorite vocalist of all time, and after Elvis Presley, and that is Tim Finn, Escapade. That's autographed. That's why I took it out of there. This is actually the first Tim Finn solo album. This was recorded while he was still in Split Enz, because they had come out with the album Time and Tide, and it was huge all over Australia. So he went off and he recorded this album. Here's a crazy link here. Okay, Vince Gill plays mandolin on a song. Vince Gill, like playing on a Tim Finn record. But the album is produced by Ricky Fataar. And are you familiar with who Ricky Fataar is?
Yes, he was with the Beach Boys for a while, wasn't he, way back in the day?
Yes, and what else would you know him for? Stig O'Hara and the Ruddles.
Oh, right. He played George Harrison. Yeah.
The
George Harrison-like character. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, it's kind of a fizzy pop album. It's very light, but it's just such a happy, just light pop album. I mean, it's not a rock album. And it's not an easy listening album. It's just mid-tempo, just great melodic pop. I mean, everybody loves Neil Finn. I think Tim Finn is the better vocalist. On this album, he just never sounded better. It's a confident, it's a wonderful record. For me, it's filled with nostalgia, of course, because I've been listening to this since it came out, 1983 or whatever. But it's a fantastic album. It sounds different from Split Enz. It sounds different from Crowded House. From what I understand, it originally started out, he went into the studio to record a couple covers, and those covers never made the album. It's just filled with all self-penned tracks. Fraction Too Much Friction, Through the Years were popular songs off of this. Tim Finn Escapade is just a wonderful, just a warm, lovely record that will definitely you can sit back and you can relax too, and just let the world walk away for a little while as you absorb the beauty of that music and his voice.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of QUARANTUNES. We hope you enjoyed the selections we chose for you today. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Matthew, for being involved. And we'll see you next time on QUARANTUNES.